Welcome back to the final and most important step of this process of formatting our Internet Research Guide, which is adding the table of contents. Now, to set this up, first we have inserted all of our headings and subheadings, right? We formatted them in our document. And that's going to be really important for us to get a table of contents that has, as the assignment requires, at least 2 levels, right? We'll have to have headings, heading 1, right? That's 2 levels. Heading 2 would be up to 3 levels. I have also made another thing to make this process a little bit easier is I've made my title page, right? By inserting first page. And I can do that by going to the insert feature of Word, which is up here on the left. And I want to insert a cover page. And I just picked a template that I thought kind of matched the vibe. I can, of course, modify any of these elements. My cover page, if you add that, that's important because it's not going to count it as a numbered page, which will matter when we format the table of contents. And so you can see my table of contents is going to go here on page 1, and then my preface starts on page 2. I actually want my preface to start on page 1. I'm going to show you how to change that in just a second. First, we're going to insert the table of contents, which is really easy. I'm just going to come up to the top of this page. I'm going to go to the references feature of Microsoft Word, which is right up here also. After I click on references, then the far left option is table of contents. I'll pull that up. And you can see it already has these 2 built-in table of contents that I can choose from. The only difference here is that one is titled contents and one is table of contents. So I like the title table of contents. I'm going to select that. And it will just put it right in there for me. Now, of course, it's added another page, so we'll just delete that. And you can see, because I add another page, right, put all of this stuff on page 3 instead of page 2. As I continue to kind of edit my document and change maybe what pages things are appearing on, I can come up here to update table, and I can update just the page numbers. That means it's not going to update the titles of my headings. Or if I've been typing around and I wanted to also update the titles, say I've added some sort of like capitalization scheme or something that I want it to do, I'm going to just say update the entire table. And then it will change those page numbers for me over there. So incredibly easy to add that table of contents after we've set up our style guide. Next, I want this to be page 1. I just really do. So what I need to do first is create the preface to begin on a different section than my table of contents. And to do that, you'll come over to layout and you'll come to break. And this is also another place where we could add a page break, which we did earlier, but I'm going to use this other feature called next page, which essentially creates not just a page break, but a section break. And then I can format each section separately. Next, I'm going to just double click in the footer section, which is where I put my page numbers. When I click in here, this right is, if I click in my header or footer, it's going to pull up the option to edit that. It'll give me all of the editing options. There's this thing called navigation, and I have linked to previous. I don't want it to be linked. So I'm going to unclick that. Then that means I can go and delete this and it won't change, right, my formatting here. So I shouldn't have page numbers on my first 2 pages. And then I want this to be page number 1, obviously, and not 0. And so I can right click on that number, format the page numbers. And because I've unlinked my sections, I don't want it to continue from my previous section because that would number everything continuously, but I want it to start at page 1. And now my preface begins on page 1, exactly where I want it to begin. And then the rest of my pages follow like that. So now, because I went and did all that different formatting, I need to update my table of contents again. I'm just going to update the entire thing. And now my preface appears on page 1. The most frustrating part, right, is to make sure you have to create 2 different sections by going to Layout, breaks, next page, right? So you basically click before you want your next section break. And then you have to select the header and footer and unlink them to the previous section, okay? And those are the two keys that will help you to get your table of contents set up, numbered the way that you want it to be. All right, hopefully this helped, and I am always available to answer questions or go over these steps individually if you would like. So good luck.